It is time for StreetWise with former chief of the New York City Sheriff's Department, former chief of the Seagate Police Department, retired New York City detective, Time Warner Public Access Media Award, Joe Franklin Super Excellence in Broadcasting Memory Lane Award, New York Veteran Police Association StreetWise production, host of StreetWise, Mr. Lou Telano.
Good evening and welcome back to StreetWise. My guest, an old friend, he's been on the StreetWise several times. Great new book out. And by the way, the book could have walk softly and carry a big stick. But my guess, you know him, is throughout the country. He's been known as the toughest sheriff in the country. 24 years he was the sheriff of Maricopa County in Phoenix, Arizona. Great book out, and the book is so appropriate. The Legend of Joe Arpaio, or Joe Arpaio, the Legend, I should say. Sheriff Joe, welcome back to StreetWise.
Hey, thanks, Lou. Great talking to you and your nice assistant.
Yeah, nice assistant is right. But I got to ask you this. What's a nice Italian boy like you doing in Arizona? How did you wind up in Arizona?
Well,
on the East Coast?
You have 10 hours.
I guess so.
You got to read the book.
Okay. We know.
Well,
I got it. What made you talk about the book? Of course, obviously, everything that you went through, controversies, your primary, your election wasn't easy. What made you decide to do a book on pretty much everything that occurred, the good things and the bad things and the middle things, and a book actually? Is pretty much, I guess you could say, your life story almost.
Yeah, I wrote two books when I was a sheriff, America's Toughest Sheriff, 1996, and Joe's Law, which was 2012. It's being mixed up, advertised, but my new book that I'm proud of, and I wrote this book not being the sheriff, although it would not have made a difference because I wrote it by facts. And not for political reasons, although politics is deep into this book. So I wrote it, and one great guy, David Thomas Roberts, Defiance Media Press, is the publisher, so we worked together. It only took 5 months because I stored everything since I was born. I have a record of everything. So all those that want to think I'm a conspiracy guy, come on over and I'll show you the proof. I want to make that clear, Lou. So an Italian boy ended up in Arizona, you asked previously. I was born and raised in Springfield, Mass. My mother and father came to the United States and settled in Springfield. My mother died when I was born, giving her life for me because she refused an abortion. And so I bounced around from one Italian family to the other. My father, great in America, but he never forgot his ethnic background. Joined the Army when I turned 18. Korean War broke out, joined the Army, graduated from high school, and that set me on my way to around the world ventures. And ended up in Arizona, took over the federal drug enforcement after 26 years as head of the DA in Turkey, Syria, Mexico, South America, Texas, Arizona. I bring that out because to this day, those countries are very important. And our great president, Donald Trump, is dealing with the same people I dealt with. Now, getting to our president, I have to bring him out, and I'm going to give you my age, Lou. I'm not ashamed of it, even though you used it against me big time last couple of months. I'll gun all these guys, especially the Republicans, the swamp that turned on me after endorsing many of them for president, governor, you name it. But I'm not going to get into that. That's not what the book is about, but it does talk about McCain and Flake and all those nice guys.
I know.
How it relates to me. So decided to do the book, very controversial. And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity, because there's been a blackout. And in my 57 years, Lou, most of it as a top guy around the world, and bringing me down to Arizona now and running for sheriff. When I was 60 in 1992, ran for sheriff, and I've been sheriff for 24 years in the third largest county and sheriff's office in the nation. So I does some controversial things. I'm proud of it. I don't care what these biased federal judges did to me. I don't care what George Soros did to me. He's pumping $3 million to get me out of office. I don't care about pushing the birth certificate of Obama in 2011. So I don't care. I'm an elected sheriff. I report to the people. I don't report to any political figure or bureaucrat. I report to the people, which here in this county is a large, large county.
You know,
3 million, 5 million people.
another tough guy came from your neighborhood in Massachusetts, another tough Italian guy. And, you know,
You had Rocky Marciano and you had Rocky Arpaio, because I named my son, born in Chicago, because I got sworn in as a federal agent in Chicago. When the commissioner in Washington called me after Vegas when I locked up Elvis, I went down there to apply to be a federal narcotics agent, Lou. You know, way back, it used to be called Federal Bureau of Narcotics. Commissioner said, well, you Italian? Yes, sir. You mind locking up Italians? I said, I'll lock anybody up. So they threw me in Chicago because I worked on a mob. I did a lot of undercover work. I could go on. And my son Rocco was born in Chicago. Married my wife there, 1957 in Chicago, 62 years ago. So I have a soft spot in my heart for Chicago. And of course, from there, they sent me to Turkey. I can go on and on my escapades and what I did, not only with the Drug Enforcement Administration, but as sheriff for 24 years.
You know what's great, Joe? Your great book is because people know sheriff, but I'm glad your book came out. The Legend of Joe Arpaio, or Joe Arpaio, the Legend, because there are many people unaware of your extensive law enforcement background. Now, you're also a cop in D.C. Am I correct on that?
I spent 3 years in the Army, got out as staff sergeant, applied for the Border Patrol, Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police. I flunked the Border Patrol. Is that irony? And I passed the D.C. exam and became a cop 1954, 21 years old, and up until 57, walked a black beat for 3 years. A nightstick, a blackjack, and a 38. And I think I had a record of arresting people on my beat. I was very aggressive, you know, a young cop, very aggressive in those days. We didn't have cameras, all tasers. We had our common sense and our 38 nightstick, the old-fashioned type of policing.
I recall being
so,
you know, but it's good because you're bringing out like you. Could you, and some of the things in the book are a little, you said it yourself, a little controversial, and they're politically controversial, but you don't mind because these are all facts. These are the truth. You are, aside from your law enforcement background, you are actually the person that put together a posse, I guess you could call it. You had a cold case squad, and you did the primary investigation on the forged birth certificate of Barack Hussein Obama. Like you mentioned before, did not forget guys like George Soros, and they got back at you big time. Donald Trump loves you, as the country does, and but you're still continuing that, Joe, doing what you have to do. You always do the right thing, and you haven't thought about this. Hey, I'm in Arizona. Just go lay out in the sun and enjoy myself. You haven't thought of that, huh, Joe?
Well, Mike Zullo, by the way, I started this investigation. The Tea Party in those days came up to me 200 and said, "You're our last hope being an elected sheriff. We want you to investigate the birth certificate." So I looked at it, and don't forget, I'm not stupid. If you think I didn't know, if I took on the president of the United States, they would not be giving me medals. But I didn't realize that it became the biggest cover-up, biggest in the history of the United States. And I know my hero, President Trump, has some situations that he calls the largest hoax and so on. And part of what he's saying has to be directed to me too. Now, I use my posse.
Yep.
Sheriffs can swear in private citizens, give them authority so nobody could say I'm wasting taxpayers' money. Not that it cared. This is an official investigation brought by Mike Zullo. And I had the press conference, the first one. All the media came. Of course, they all call me crazy and so on, even though I had the evidence on the wall. And then I had another, and when I opened that press conference, I said, "I'm here to clear the president. I don't care where he was born. I'm talking about a fake government document. Don't ask me nothing else." That's what I directed my activities, the document.
Look, your guy, Mike Zullo, who actually went to Hawaii, did all the background. He was your chief investigator, and I was fortunate enough to have him as my guest. Talking about that. But yet, are you hopeful that this may be on Donald Trump's hit list, if he has one? Is that going to be revisited down the road? Because he actually.
You're saying when he gets reelected, not if we'll know tomorrow, wait, goes for number two.
Yeah.
I don't know. I talked to the president. I don't brag about it. He's my hero.
Yes.
I introduced him July 2015 when nobody really would get on a stage and introduce him. I did. And I said three things. Actually, I said four things. There's a silent majority out there. We're born on the same day, Flag Day. You will be the next president. I predicted that. And then I also said we have something in common that the media hopped on. They could care less. I said we both know about a fake birth certificate. Now, through my elections, all these political Republican so-called experts have said, don't ever talk about the birth certificate. You won't get reelected. So I chippied around. I didn't make a big deal, although I had 3 press conferences. And the last one is the one that put the knife in the back and twisted it when I got 120% proof that that is a fake document.
Yeah.
We just happened, in brief, we just happened to have a gal born 22 days later from allegedly Obama. We went out to get forensic scientists, talked to 100. They didn't want to hear it. Found a nice Italian, back to Italy again, in Rome, experts that go before the Italian Supreme Court. They took it as a favor, thought it was all garbage. And when they saw at least 9 items from that lady's birth certificate taken out of that and put into Obama's birth certificate, without a doubt, they removed those items and put it on the other. And also we had a guy in Hawaii, 25 years experience, an Obama guy, forensic expert. He did it for us. He said the same thing. Now, I don't know what you need, Lou, for probable cause, at least probable cause, to have the FBI, every Congress come to me and say, hey, Can we look at your report? Nobody to this day will look at that document. And you know, I'm an expert at fake documents when I locked up 200,000 illegal immigrants, and most of them had fake documents, driver's license, birth certificate. So I think I know what a fake document means.
Yes.
And nobody to this day still won't give me a call and try to develop and see what's wrong. Now, I don't know about the statute of limitations. I think maybe it can start once a law enforcement agent picks up on it, although I am a law enforcement agency. So I don't know where we're going with that, but I'm not going to surrender. You were very clever, Lou, when you hit a button there. Now, George Soros pumped in $3 million and other powerful figures in 2016 to get a Democrat former sergeant on the Phoenix police to be sheriff, because Lou, anybody could have been the sheriff. They wanted me out. Now, everybody says illegal immigration. That was the big battle. But I think it was the birth certificate. Because when you look at the actors involved, Perkins Coie, that big law firm, when they are 2 years ago trying to get my pardon kicked out, leading 24 Nadler congressional congressmen to get that kicked out, they know that would never happen. When that same law firm delivers money to Hillary to pay off Steele that opened the Russian deal, the same law firm, when that law firm also joined Soros and pumped in all that money to get rid of me, when that law firm went to Hawaii to pick up a document, Obama's private lawyer who happened to work for that same law firm, and deliver that to, we feel, Washington. Now, isn't there a little connection between me, the birth certificate, and what's going on in Russia, that boondoggle trip by head of the FBI? And when you want to go to chapter 9, I think, or the Melendez case, where it took them 8 years to get me, when Holder came, Covington law firm came from there and became Attorney General. And the same law firm is handling my case, ACLU suing me. And the judge, brother-in-law's, Covington Burling, that law firm, is a big shot on that law firm. And in his court, he's handling the case. ACLU is sued me, and he's handling that case. And of course, he decides how much money goes back to the law firm. And when his wife is overheard in a restaurant speaking with 3 high school chums in the past, and the wife says, oh, when they ask, what does your husband do? Oh, he's a federal judge. And she volunteers, oh, yes, and my husband, the federal judge, hates Sheriff Joe Arpaio, and he's going to do everything to keep me from being reelected. Now, we appeal that, but that Ninth Circuit, they don't care. They all hate me anyway. I'm just giving you a little situations here. I'm not angry, Lou. I've been around too long. I'm a little disappointed, especially now at the swamp. We have a swamp in Arizona. It's in the desert. I call it the establishment. Donald Trump, when I introduced him, then NBC last year asked me a question. Is John McCain your hero? I pause. And just by chance, 4 months prior to that question, I woke up and I told my wife, I finally found my hero. And I said, it's not McCain, it's our president.
Absolutely.
Trump. So in my book, it's not a book on Donald Trump, although a lot of my stuff connects with him. If you read all those chapters, but he's my hero. I'm with him to the end. I'm not a flip-flopper, and that's the way it's going to be. If people don't like it, that's tough. I'm allowed to have a hero, and that's the only one I have. Everybody can have heroes,
Right.
but I have a right to have my hero, and I stick with that through all my years. It took me 79 years to find my hero. Think of that.
Are you hoping that this will be revisited when your book gets out there and people look into it and people might ask questions? And then when Donald Trump gets reelected again, people will have more what they were born with, men in general, to say, hey, wait a minute, you know, this was wrong. This was illegal. This was a pure feeling. I would love to see this surface again. So, it's my opinion, but I'm not alone in it.
Well, I've been before Biden. I testified before him,
Right.
1983, on the international drug traffic.
Yeah.
I had a picture taken with him after they started the investigation on me because I talked about the swine flu in 2009. And I checked out some of my inmates in jail, illegals, want to know what part of Mexico to see if the disease was coming in. I went on Fox then, Cavuto, and then everything blew up. The 100-day report the presidents do, about that same time, why did it say we're going after Sheriff Joe Arpaio, even though we don't have any evidence? Why is that the same year they wiretapped me?
Wow.
Why is it when we went to a FISA judge secretly, had him look at documents, sensitive documents, and he kind of indicated my lines were tapped. He's a former FISA judge. And then we turned the informer and everybody over to Comey.
Yeah.
At that time, nobody's called, nothing's happened. So you want to talk about keeping things quiet and cover-ups? Talk to me, and I'll tell you. And it's sad.
Look,
And you know what, Lou? I'm proud of my background. Nobody's going to touch my resume. That's why the media is a little careful. They'll call me a racist. By the way, every hour on the hour, they call me a racist. I don't get into my personal life. It's just I'm getting up there in the age.
Right.
I always try to protect my grandkids. But I do have a black grandkid. I do have a Mexican grandkid. And I did work in Turkey, Mexico, all over the world, and loved foreign people. So you want to call me a racist? Be my guest. But they can't penetrate my background. Nobody can. So they have to keep their mouths shut when they know I'm not just some guy that's talking.
What?
So that's the way it is.
You know what that tells me? When everything you did, your whole life story, your law enforcement background, that tells me they have nothing when they say racist. That means nothing. So, how are you doing, by the way, with when your book sale, I should say? How is that going?
Well, I got the publisher. I know everywhere I go here in Arizona. I had a book signing at a famous Mexican restaurant that Trump loves. So I'm going to start selling it in Arizona. But the main way to buy it is, through Amazon.
Right.
It should be a bestseller. But it's very unusual. I've been on 40 talk shows in the last 40 days. Nobody from my hometown of Arizona, you really think they talk about it? Any talk shows, any TV, they always make me irrelevant now because they know I'm still popular out there. So they played a little Mickey Mouse games. Well, I have over 1 million people on social network. I'm going to build that up. And people like you that are willing to listen to get the true story. That's how you get the word out, Lou. You're a very powerful person, even though you're a private citizen, because you can speak out and tell it like it is. So I appreciate your opportunity. You've been a friend of law enforcement. I love law enforcement. I've been raising money and I don't know if you know Clayman. He's a lawyer willing to sue anybody. And he and I formed a organization, America's Sheriff. It's a nonprofit. So we are going to raise money. We're going to defend cops thrown under the bus, and we're going to sue people like the mayor of Chicago and these sanctuary cities. So I'm not dead yet.
Give us the information on the organization that you have that in regard to helping law enforcement throughout the country, so people can.
That's American Sheriff, nonprofit,
Right.
and incorporated, nonprofit. Larry Clayman.
What do we got? A minute left, I think we do. Yeah, we got 1 minute. I gotta ask. This is important. Are you going to run for office again? You're still spry. You still got a lot of energy, and we still could use you, Joe Arpaio.
Well,
Back of your mind.
it depends on the olive oil. I drink the olive oil. That's why I stay strong at 88. I'm not dead yet.
Well, let's hope Donald Trump, when he wins, that he considers you for some position that we all could use you. You know, the country needs Joe Arpaio. The country needs more Joe Arpaios. I have to say this. And show your book again one more time before I leave you, before we leave each other, Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
It's a hardcover. I'm showing you the one that went to the media, but the hardcover is out. It's been out since August. August. That's when the day I was pardoned. No, it was out 2 months ago.
Website.
Actually, October 20. It came out.
Website.
Hardcover.
So you have a website for the sheriff's group that you're collecting with Clavin.
You'll go into my Facebook, and it'll direct you to all these.
Okay, we'll find out. Beautiful, Joe.
They're going to
pleasure.
Amazon.
Joe, it's a pleasure speaking with you again. Tomorrow's election day. Tomorrow's our day, our big day, Joe Arpaio.
You know who to vote for, Lou. Donald Trump. Okay.
Joe Arpaio, good seeing you.
Thank you.
Good evening, and welcome back to StreetWise. My guest is the CEO and founder of the fastest growing conservative cable news channel, I guess, in America. And look, in my opinion, this is the passing Fox. I want to welcome to StreetWise Chris Ruddy, and I mentioned the founder and head of the home of Gilla. Chris, welcome to StreetWise.
Well, Lou, great to be on with you. Really appreciate you taking the time to have me on.
Well, I was going to say the same to you. You know, in my background, what they taught us in homicide school, because you do a lot of trials and a lot of you board a lot, and they would say the high-profile attorneys ask you quick questions, and a lot of it is sense of humor as well. And they would say, Detective, I'm asking you this question. I want a yes or no answer. Do you still your wife? I'm gonna direct something similar to that to you, Chris Ruddy. Why is Donald Trump going to win?
Well, I don't know he's going to win, but I want him to win, and I think it's important he wins. Nobody understands completely the American electorate, but he has been an incredible president. If you look at his record, Lou, it's been an amazing record for the first citizen president of the United States. Everyone else before him was a politician or a general. And if you know, every poll, all these polls, if you can believe the polls, right? But every poll, even the ones that have him losing, all say that when people are asked who handles the economy better, Trump or Biden, majorities, over 55%, whatever, they always say Donald Trump. So if the economic well-being of the United States is important, I think we all agree with that. This guy wins hands down, and he's done a fantastic job building the biggest economic recovery since World War II, and really the most amazing COVID recovery. And I think he should be elected. That's the point I can make as a journalist, because you don't change horses midstream, especially when things are going so darn well.
Well, you know, you say things are going so darn well. Here's the issue with that, is that with all the rhetoric, COVID-19, Joe Biden, Kamala, everything that's going on, and all the confusion and all the things that are going back and forth. A lot of people are actually unaware what Donald Trump has done, and for some reason it's being overshadowed and not coming out. You've just mentioned all the things that probably no other president has done. So are we losing that? People not getting the message is exactly the economy, like you touched on, and our international people that we're dealing with. Are we losing Donald Trump?
Well, I don't know if they asked you this question in homicide school, but you know, if a tree falls in the woods, did it really fall in the woods, right? Because nobody saw it. And that's really the summation of the problem the president has. He's doing these great things. He has a media that doesn't want to say what he's done. And, you know, I think it's one of the reasons you mentioned Newsmax. We're now seen by about 10 million people a month. We're in 70 million cable homes. I know on Long Island, for instance, we're on Optimum Channel 102. FiOS 615, UVerse 1220, we're on DirecTV, Dish. Every major cable system carries us. And the president has said, he just tweeted recently that people should watch all his rallies. We're broadcasting the last couple of rallies on Newsmax TV, including ones tonight, tomorrow, anything that he does that, you know, deserves live coverage. Fox News stopped covering him and only really putting some of this on, I think, because we're doing it now. But the amount of bias, I mean, did you see what Chris Wallace did to the president in the first debate?
Yes. You know, we were saying, hey, it was 2 against 1.
Yeah. And, you know, Kristen Welker, a liberal, and I know her a little bit, she was pretty good. She was very fair in the second debate. And the president did very well, but he didn't feel like he was in combat.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned Fox. What happened with Fox? Fox was like you guys, you know, at one time.
Yeah.
You're thinking, I think they're going to be sorry, and I think they will, because like a Chris Wallace, there are several others that are doing similar, and I'm going to call it little underhanded things that they're doing. I think they're going to be sorry when Donald Trump wins again.
Well, and you know what? We're a lot of the top Fox people. Greg Kelly used to be with the Fox News and affiliate. He's now on one of our lead shows at night. Rob Schmidt, one of the morning anchors, has recently joined us. Diamond and Silk, they're now on Newsmax all the time. So I think more and more people are going to be coming over to us.
I believe that. I think you, how do I say that? I think you shanghaied, you know, I don't want to say stolen, but you got a tremendous amount of conservative people that are looking for networks like yours, and Fox failed us to a degree. There's several people on there, which we know, but you can count them on your left hand if you had two fingers missing. But so you won't agree with me when I said, but like you're a top journalist when I said to you, why is Trump going to win? That scares me. I was hoping you say, well, tomorrow.
I'm an old school journalist, so I don't make predictions. I do think the president has a very good shot. The race is going to be very close. I certainly voted for him. I voted actually the same day he voted in the same place he voted down in Florida. We're based down there and in New York, as you probably know. So,
you know, it's funny when I did work for Rudy Giuliani, and when he ran the first time against David Dinkins, we did discover dead people voting twice. So nothing surprises me, you know?
well, this is the problem with the mail-in ballots is that, you know, in New York or most states, if you're not able to go to the polls, you would send in a written request, a form to request a mail-in ballot. They would check the signature and verify it went to your home address. What they're doing in these states, like Pennsylvania, for instance, is they're going through and they're mailing the ballot to everyone on the register that's been on the register for 20 years, even if they're deceased, whatever. So there could be ballots coming into addresses where people aren't even alive. Somebody could fill them out. Now, you think that doesn't happen. Those type of things happen all the time. There have been studies where they took voter files and they found thousands of people voted in 2 different states at the same time. And in Pennsylvania, what's really scary is that the state courts already ruled they don't need to have the signatures match, which is just an invitation for fraud.
That should be challenged. I heard about that the other day. You can't match a signature. I don't know how it's so ridiculous. But some of it may be towards Trump's benefit as well. Doesn't not necessarily one-sided. But I would agree that there would be more fraud on the other side.
I don't know. I would say the Democrat Party.
Yes.
You remember Mayor Daley, vote early and often. These guys really invented vote fraud. I'm not sure your country club Republicans have figured out how to do that one yet, but thank God.
That's the national. That's the other side. Do you feel that we should have a national ID card?
I'm not. What driver's licenses are pretty good. I don't know why we can't require driver's licenses and other ID, and then your driver's license you should have some real form of proof that you're a citizen. I'm not a big believer in national ID cards and all of this government Big Brother stuff. There's something about it I don't like. President Reagan, it was widely suggested he do it, and he turned it down in the 80s.
What's the latest? Because my understanding is that you are close to Donald Trump. So I have to ask you this big question: where the hell is he getting all this energy from?
Sometimes I wonder if he's an extraterrestrial. He does have superhuman qualities. I mean, I'm a lot younger than he is as well. I don't usually remind him of that, but I have known him for over 20 years. He has the most remarkable amount of energy I've ever seen in any single person. I mean, he's almost 75. He's up at 6 a.m. I've seen him at times at the White House where he just flew in from Japan. He goes right into meetings, and then he's flying out to additional meetings. And I'm like, I've no journalists that cover him as president, and they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s. They can't keep up with him. So I think there was something in that water in Queens that he drank that may have given him extra genetic oomph to do what he does.
Before me and my organization endorsed him, by the way, the first law enforcement organization in the country to endorse Donald Trump, 2015. And we were talking about different things, how to keep in shape and diet, because my son was with me, and he's a retired state trooper. And he said, "That's your son? I thought it was your brother." So we started talking a little bit about diet and exercise and vitamins. That's when I found out that the guy does not drink.
He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't do drugs. So he's lived a pretty healthy lifestyle. He's a very active guy, although he doesn't regularly exercise. But he golfs. He's always on the move. So that counts for a lot. I think good genes. His family, his mother and father both lived in their 90s. I think his dad lived to about 100-something of years of age. So I think the incredible background there and genetics, and then keeping relatively good health, and I think it's all a sign that he could go on for a long time.
That's nice. Now we want to talk about you. How did you get this thought? Because you were actually the founder, and I guess with Newsmax. How did this come about? Because if there were no Newsmax, we may not have no news anymore, like Fox was giving us. How did you come about it, Chris Ruddy? And your thoughts, your idea? You're the founder.
Well, I started Newsmax in the 90s. I saw the media during the Clinton years wasn't really fairly covering some of the tough questions in that period. I started Newsmax in 1998. It grew very successfully. Newsmax.com is still a very popular website. 10 million people go to that each month. And then about 10 years ago, we started getting heavily into television and video. 6 years ago, we launched a cable news channel called Newsmax TV. People said you'll never get into cable homes. We're now in almost every cable home in America. And if you're not on cable, you can still watch us, because you can watch us on YouTube, Roku, Pluto, Zumo, all those free devices. You can even download our app on your smartphone, on your iPhone or Android, and it's free. So if you're on a train, Lou, and you're going in the city and you want to watch Fox News, you can, unless you have a subscription. You can't watch CNN, but you can watch Newsmax. and our numbers there are just growing in the millions. People are tuning in. So it's a very powerful medium, television. And I think, this country has been successful because we've had a public that's been very well informed in making their political decisions. When you have a media that won't even report on the Hunter Biden laptop, won't even acknowledge it exists, won't even say that there were emails in there that are really questionable about Joe Biden, it's a very dangerous thing. And Newsmax has been, out front in raising those questions. Rudy Giuliani, he's going to be on Newsmax tonight talking about some of that.
Real boss, So the question is, where is the great white hunter? Big question. So I don't know how that. Do you think that's going to affect Joe Biden, the connection or the relationship and the business dealings that him and his dad had, in the allegations?
Well, it came in so late and the press have ignored it, but they've done so at their own peril. And I think it's going to rock the Biden administration and go on into the new presidency if he's elected. I think he will be dogged by this issue for a long time. Yeah. And we've seen this in other scandals. I think this is why the public should be informed of these things. And I think, the polls show a tightening for the president. I think more and more that's going on because of the questions about Biden and his son.
I think we ran out of time already, did we? Yeah, I'm sorry. Chris Ruddy, I would have loved to get you on a little longer, but your people said you can only give us 10, 15 minutes. So
well, I appreciate it. We're just going down to the wire here with the election and a lot of interviews to give, but I really appreciate the time that you gave me, Lou. I really enjoyed it. I like your set there. It looks like a real news shop.
It's the real deal. So like you.
Well, you're the real deal. Thank you.
Chris, and hopefully we'll talk in the near future.
Cool. All right, great. And we'll vote early and often, as Mayor Deli once said. All right. Thank you.
Chris Ruddy.
All right. Be well.
Well, don't forget, tomorrow, the big day. Got to vote. Tuesday's our big day to reelect Donald Trump. I don't even know if I think I'm off the air now, but I'm still on. Okay, so we got to get Donald Trump in, folks. Remember that Tuesdays. If you didn't get down and vote. All right, this is Lou Telano. Thanks for listening to StreetWise, and I'll catch you later.